Can you hear the rain? That is one of the things that I love about living in an RV. How close you hear the raindrops, or the wind, or even the snowflakes. Yeah, because the walls are this thin. My experience living in an RV has been liberating and frustrating all the same. Your experience is going to be different according to who you are, what you need, and what you like. So I am going to share my experiences. I just started my fire. So fire, rain, you. Oh, I'm getting romantic. Is it because spring is around the corner? Or is it? This kind of moment for me is one of the happiest living in my RV because it's cozy, my fire's going, the sound of rain, is so relaxing. And the sound of the fire. Oh, so let me soak in this moment. I wish you could hear the fire to my right and the wind. The wind? The wind. The rain dropping from the sky. This is what life is about. Oh my goodness, I'm not even drinking, you guys. What is going on with me? All right, let's get serious. Okay. Let me put a little log in here. So it kind of, having the fire and all of this amazing ambience that I have going on, it feels like being in a cabin, So you see me having a happy moment living in my RV, but it isn't always like this. And I want to share with you my experience according to who I am. Why? Because you may be thinking about living in your RV. You may be about to quit living in your RV. I also want to share it because it's a very, very important part of my life. And these videos are recording my life. And I know I'll watch it again when I'm 80 or 90, hopefully. Having this to me, I bought it while I was still married, and this was a big plan of my, not escape, but I was already planning for what was about to come. I want to share the beginning of my thinking even of living in an RV. All right, so cool, get the credits rolling. Yeah, right. Welcome to her soul vacation. Since I grew up in a gorgeous third world country, the concept of vacationing in an RV was foreign to me. I didn't know that the RVs even existed. It wasn't until the mid-2000s when I first stepped into an RV. I remember it was a Chinox that my then husband was checking out because he was interested in buying it, and he bought it, and then he sold it. Then he bought a trailer. I think it was a 21 feet trailer, and then he sold it. Then he bought a casita, then he sold it. Then he bought a truck camper, what is it, Bigfoot, a very nice one, and then he sold it. And all of this search of his perfect rig, it got me into the RVs. Being in such a tiny space that even had a kitchen, it was like unbelievable. A bed, a sofa. How can someone fit so much into such a little space? Because as an interior designer, space planning is my thing. So I fell in love with the idea. I truly did. This is a house on wheels. As you know. So then I started my own search while I was still married because I knew that the end was near. You know when you know. I started looking for something for myself. And as I was looking, I started getting into YouTube and realizing there's a lifestyle out there of people living in vehicles and I mean, some people live in a Prius, like, wow, unbelievable. And if they can do it, then there's nothing I should be worried about. But since I was still married, he started asking me, why are you looking for one? And I was telling him that, which was true, that I wanted to take my grandchildren to the beach and maybe, have a cookout or whatever. I just wanted to have my own and not interfere with his stuff. So my research began, and I found a van. I had no idea about anything. As always, if you're watching me for a while, you will know that everything I'm doing, I have no idea of what I'm doing. Anyhow, I bought that van, and I was just so amazed. And even though I was married and I had, the typical lifestyle in Southern California, I felt different when I owned the van. I had a nice car, but owning the van, because it would give me the freedom of sleep in it, it just meant something different. It was just so liberating. I never had the experience before because, as I said earlier, I grew up in a third world country. I come from a middle-class family, but as a single teenage mom myself, I was struggling, and I never owned a car in Chile. So anyhow, I guess you need to understand where I come from to know why things mean so much to me, more than perhaps the typical citizen, So my appreciation and my perspective about things, about material things, is a little bit different, I think. What do you think, now that you know me so well? That van, to me, didn't feel very stable, like it was too wobbly. That was my first large vehicle that I would drive. So perhaps it was my lack of experience driving a large car. And then I started learning about dualies and things that I had no idea. You buy something and you learn your lessons because you become a user, and then you see what type of user you are, what you like, what you don't like. I learned that I wanted a wider van, and I wanted one with dualies, 2 tires in the back and 2 in the front. I mean, 2 sets, so 4 in the back and 2 in the front. That's what I wanted because it would give it more stability. So I started doing better research because I have more knowledge, and I bought myself a Pleasure Way XL. It's a Class B, and the back of it is wider because it has the two tires in the back. With that van, I took my first trip out of state, and I went to Utah, or I came to Utah, I should say, because I am in Utah right now. I was living in California, and I have 2 children that live here in Utah. So with that van was my first ever trip, all by myself, my first solo trip in a van. And it was scary. And I remember I did it during the beginning of the winter because I wanted to spend Christmas with my children in Utah. And again, I didn't know about the weather, nothing. And, it just, my life. And I took that van to Utah. And it was scary. I learned a lot of lessons. And one of the first lessons that I learned, why nobody was talking about the way that it feels when a semi-truck drives by you. I don't see anywhere in the internet that it cautions anyone that it's going to move you, it's going to sway you. And it did that to me in the van. And it was scary. I had no control over that. Anyway, I learned that. I also got caught in a super high wind, 30 miles per hour winds with gusts of winds like 50 miles per hour. So that was the first time I spent the night at a gas station. I remember asking for permission because it wasn't safe to continue to drive. And I spent so much gasoline in like a little trench of just a few miles because I was fighting the wind. I'm going to feed my fire. So after my Utah trip in the Pleasure Way, I realized, I need something bigger, perhaps not longer, but wider, because the van was narrow. The vans in general are narrow, even though this was the XL body. But regardless, I started looking for something bigger. And I said, okay, maybe a Class C. And it was very, very, very difficult to find what I wanted in a decent shape and clean and low mileage. So after a while, I found it. I found my Mini. Ooh, my Mini. I knew exactly that the Mini was the right one for me. So I bought the Mini. And again, I think I bought in 2016. I paid $21,000 in cash, and I bought it with 24,000 miles from the second owner. Of course, I had to get it because the floor plan wasn't functional for me and my needs, and I'm still in the process of remodeling. You will see that all of this looks really bad and old and dated, because it is. So I haven't done anything during the winter. I can't open the doors or the windows for airflow because the weather has been horrible. Ow, ow, ow. I hurt myself. So after I got the Mini, I was at the end of the marriage, and I took the Mini again to visit my children in Utah. So I left California, but this time I packed RV with all my precious belongings, the things that I would now want to leave behind, because I knew that there was a big possibility that I wasn't coming back, or I wasn't coming back anytime soon. Of course, I had to eventually go back and take care of business, right? But I knew that my plan was to come visit my children, and then if I had the guts, I will continue to travel to states that I've never been to. So I took off again from California to Utah to visit my children for another holiday. And when the visit was over, I faced myself, literally. And I said, Claudia, do you have the guts to continue moving forward and keep driving into the next state that you've never been to, which was Idaho? Or you don't have the guts and go back to California to you know what? And I said, no, Claudia, we must continue to go, because I couldn't imagine myself going back to California when I had the opportunity and the means to continue and going into the unknown. So that's what I chose. That's what I chose. It wasn't easy. No, it wasn't easy. I had fears. I had no experience, but I had my things. I had my Mini and I had money. So off I went into Idaho. You perhaps watching may know how it is to cross into a new state that you've never been to. I just crossed into Idaho. And then, oh my gosh, I am in Wyoming. And then, oh my gosh, I'm in Montana. Oh my gosh, I'm going to Yellowstone and to the Grand Tetons. And oh my gosh, that was the beginning of a beginning of a big, big, big change in my life. I got hooked. I loved it so much. I met so many people, and so fun people and good people. I never met anyone bad. I never had a bad experience. I never did. I never was in a scary situation. Nobody came to my rig. I had the Walmart overnight. I had the streets overnight. That was my first I think 6 months, or it was 6 states, I think, that I did on the first experience living in my RV. For me, it has been very, very, very liberating, but also frustrating, because a lot of things can go wrong and do go wrong and expect them to go wrong. And if you don't have experience, you're gonna have to learn. And learning sometimes takes time and takes borrowing help and borrowing tools and learning what you need, learning to use the tools. And that can sometimes be frustrating because you want things to be done and to be done right, and sometimes you make mistakes. So the learning curve can be frustrating. I learned so much this winter, and I want to do other videos giving you advice and recommendations because now I'm an expert. Anyhow, I love the life that I have had in my mini. I really love it so much. I still enjoy the concept of living tiny, the concept of moving my home. I love making my own lifestyle. My point is, I want to have this lifestyle. I want to be left alone. Anyhow, I don't want this video to be extremely long, so therefore I'm going to make other videos with the negatives of living in an RV from my perspective and the positives, because it wouldn't be complete if I didn't do that. Now I'm just telling you my experience and how I arrived on living in an RV. I will spare you a lot of details, but I am an open book, and if you want to know more, just ask. But now I just wanted to share with you how I got to it and why I'm still living in this RV. I'm still loving it. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and please do come back for the next one. I am not sure when the next one will be. That's something else I need to talk to you about, but in the upcoming videos. Okay, Claudia, sign off. Ciao. Mwah. Sign out.